When do you need a benefited parcels land description? To answer that question, you have to understand what it is. What is a benefited parcels land description? So it is a description of a group of parcels, so one or more parcels that benefit from a land right in another parcel. Okay, typically it's an easement. That's the type of land right, but there could be other things. Okay, but so you need one of those when you want to describe the parcels, the group of parcels that are going to benefit from some land right in another parcel. And so just to get some terminology clear here, when we talk about the benefited parcels, those are the parcels that benefit from the land right or the easement. Okay, and the burdened parcels, those are the parcels that are burdened by the easement. Okay, so if you can imagine, for example, an irrigation easement, right? The parcels that get the water from the easement, those are the benefited parcels. The parcels that the irrigation easement crosses, right, the ditch of the pipeline, those are the burden parcels. Okay, so a benefited parcels land description is a description of a group of parcels that benefit from some type of land right or easement. Okay, usually it's more than one parcel, and typically it's a description. It's not a brand new description, so usually you don't have to. It's not the same amount of work as writing a brand new land description, for example, for a lease parcel or for a new easement. What you typically do is you go in and you check and then reuse the fee parcel descriptions for the benefited parcels that are in the vesting deeds. Okay, so as part of that process here, where I work, we go in and we check those descriptions for the vesting deeds of the benefited parcels. We make sure they don't have mistakes or errors. We make sure that we've identified the right parcels, so that, you know, the parcels that we're going to put in the benefited land description are the parcels that actually everybody intends to benefit from the easement or the land right. Okay, so that's what it is. Should be prepared by a land surveyor in most states. That's a good idea. And you know, the land surveyor is going to work with the land attorney or the design team, the architect, engineer. If those other folks are involved in the project, you want to make sure that they're talking to the land surveyor, so there's no confusion about what easement or land right you're talking about, which parcels benefit from it, and which parcels are burdened by the easement or the land right. So when do you need one? When do you need a benefited parcels land description? I'm going to give you 3 situations in which it's a really good idea to think about having one of those prepared. So the first situation is when you want to limit the use of an easement, but you don't want to do that with what I call a quantity limit. So I'll use an example that we dealt with recently. We had a bundle of agricultural parcels, as a half a dozen ag parcels that were all under common ownership, and they were landlocked, so they had to get to the nearest public road, county road. They used an access easement to do that, and we were making some modifications to the access easement, and we needed a description of the parcels that benefited from that easement, because that was going to limit how that easement was used, right? And the parties involved, they didn't want to deal with what I call quantity limits, so they didn't want to say, hey, we're going to limit this to 50 vehicle trips a day. You can do that, but there's issues with that as well, enforcement and monitoring issues. So, but they didn't want the owner of the benefited parcels to just be able to use this easement to access additional parcels other than the negotiated set. And there's about 6. Okay, so if he acquired adjacent land, the owner acquired adjacent land, or, you know, was buddies with the neighbor or whatever, we wanted to make it clear that this easement only served this initial group of 6 parcels. Okay, so that's one situation that you might need a benefited parcels description in, is when you want to limit the use of the land right or the easement to a specific group of parcels. The second situation is when the benefited parcels can't be easily identified from the location of the easement. So in most situations, you've got an easement that benefits a single parcel, and usually that easement physically connects to that parcel. And then it's pretty clear. Here's the easement, here's the parcel it benefits. But there may be situations where it's not obvious from the physical footprint of the easement which parcels are intended to benefit. And typically you deal with this in that same situation I described, where you have multiple parcels under common ownership, and they're going to use one easement. But you could have other situations too. You could have a situation where you've got one easement that connects to a single parcel, but then you have multiple parcels with different ownerships that all need to benefit from that common parcel, say for example for drainage, something like that. So that's another situation when you would want to use a benefited parcels description. You've got a group of parcels that need to benefit from an easement, but it's just not clear from looking at the easement itself what those parcels are. Don't create ambiguity, just put a benefited parcels description in your easement document. And then the third situation we talked about a little bit is where, again, you've got parcels that adjoin one another, they're under common ownership. One of those parcels connects to an easement, but the intent is that all the parcels benefit from that easement. You want to make that clear with the benefited parcels land description. So those are the three situations. I'll just review them again. You want to limit the use of an easement or land right to a specific set of parcels. When it's not clear from the physical footprint of the easement who the benefited parcels are, or when you have parcels under common ownership that all benefit from a single easement, and you want to make that clear which parcels, what the benefited parcels are. So, how do you do it? If you know you need one, how do you create one? Well, I talked about before, you're going to get those land descriptions of those benefited parcels from the current vesting deeds in most cases. And then what you want to do is you want to have your surveyor work with your land attorney or your title person, and you want to make sure that there's some specific language that goes into the easement document. Okay, and this is typically in what I call the deed jacket. Okay, so it's not actually in the land description itself, any of the land descriptions, but it's actually in the language that creates the easement, typically in the first couple pages of the easement document. So you need to identify these three things in the deed jacket. You need to identify what the land right is that you're talking about. Okay, so if it's an easement, what is it? It's a drainage easement over the south 20 feet of parcel X. Okay, be clear, be specific. You need to identify which parcels are burdened. So these parcels are burdened by the easement, parcel Y and X on this particular subdivision map as an example. And then you need to identify which parcels are benefited. So you're going to say the parcel described in Exhibit A are the parcels that are benefited. And typically, to make that easy, what you're going to do is you're going to do that with exhibits or attachments to the deed jacket. So I'll give you an example. You could say an irrigation easement as described in Exhibit A for the benefit of the parcels described in Exhibit B, burdening the parcels described in Exhibit C. So in that case, you're going to have three land descriptions attached to the easement deed. And we actually did that example I talked about with the 6 ag parcels. We had a description of the new easement, we had a description of the parcels that benefited, and we had a description of the parcel that was burdened. All of those got attached as exhibits to the deed jacket. So there you go. There is a quick overview of what a benefited parcels land description is, and 3 situations why you might need one, and also quick rundown of how you want to do that, how you want to handle the language in the deed jacket. So, thank you for watching, and stay tuned. We'll answer some more of your questions.